so the next part is the nose. Nose is gonna be, I would say that's gonna be the hardest part of the facial part. Nose is just doesn't have the outline. So when you look at the eyebrows, when you look at the eyes, it's easy. You can see the shape of it and you can see the outline of everything. You can see the details very clearly. But the nose is just unknown. It's just like this triangle thing sticks out from the face, and a lot of people do this upside down flower looking thing, and it's just really awkward looking. So the one thing that I really strongly recommend not to do is to create the outlines right over here. Means that the bridge of the nose, you don't want to make that outline way too strong. What you want to focus on is the glabella, if you remember this triangle shape in between the eyebrows over here, and also the bottom of the nose, that you can do a lot of details. So avoid the lines in the middle of the nose. That's just going to be the shading, and if you wanted to details, that's just going to be the bottom of the nose. Okay, so I'm going to just start off with the glabella. So this is something that we did last week, glabella, and I'm just going to create the bridge of the nose. Let me just do the bottom of the nose because that's the shaded area. And then we have created this like side plane of the nose too. Let me add this. Okay, so this is basically what we did. We have the glabella, we have the bridge of the nose, we have the side planes of the nose, and then the bottom plane, just kind of see it. Inside of the nose, what you can focus on is this nose cartilage area. So when you touch your nose on the top part near the glabella right over here, this is the nasal bone. So this is a really firm area. You can touch it like this and it just hard, right? Because it's just bone inside. When you touch this top of the nose, ring of the nose, the bottom part of the nose, it's really soft and squishy and very different from the nasal bone, because this is just cartilage and there's no bone happening. So what you can do for the bottom of the nose area is to create this cartilage sphere. So 3 spheres. So the top of the nose is going to be the big sphere right over here, and then we have the smaller spheres for the wing of the nose, for the top of the nose. And then I'm going to add 2 small spheres like this, and that is going to be the wing of the nose. And this is the area that you want to focus on a little bit more, and just avoid here, okay? And then we have the nostril. The nostril is the hole of the nose, and that's just going to be sitting in between these 2 spheres like this. And of course this is the hole. It's dark, so you can do a lot of shading. And then the wing of the nose is going to come down underneath this nostrils. So just this part, you can do a little line, but don't make it too firm because it's just still a little shaded area and there's no firm line happening. But let me just bring this down right underneath here. Kind of looks like this. So now, remember last week when I was showing you the bottom plane of the nose, it's just the bottom plane that doesn't receive any light, it's just facing down. So you can just, make it in an even tone, and that creates the bottom plane. So now we are doing the same thing basically. The bottom plane of the nose is always going to be darker, but now just imagine that we have also 3 spheres sitting right around it. So when you do the shading, what you can do is to create another cross contour of the sphere on each sphere like this. And now this whole thing would be the bottom plane that's shaded. You can just go ahead and work on a little more nostril so that it's going to be a little more darker. The important part is this side plane of the nose. And now we already have these 3 planes, so what you can do is to just do the shading and then just don't do any outlines like I did in the beginning over here. Another light source coming down from this direction. I'm just gonna make this side darker. And especially for the male, the nose, nasal bone of the male, it has a little width around this area, and it's not just like a straight down the bridge of the nose, but it also has a little rounder part on the top. This one really depends. Some female has it, some male has it, really, you know, who it is. But some people have this little shape over here. So I want you to check your shape and see what kind of nasal bone form you have. So you can create this little detail for the nasal bone today. And then also the side plane follows that shape too. So it has a little rounder part. Make it come down like that. And the other side of the nose, this side of the nose shouldn't have too much of the shading, but you still want to get this 3D effect of the nose. You can do a subtle shading just to get the shape of it, just like you can have how you can kind of see this like really light line on the side, and that creates the full nose shape. You can do a really light line, same thing, and then just add another super duper light shade for this plane. That would probably work, right? And yeah, and I'm just gonna make this a little bit darker. And if you have the light receiving from the ceiling, then glabella would also have another shading, because when you look at the portrait from the side view, forehead, glabella face this direction, and then we have the nose sticks out like this. So glabella is the plane that faces down a little bit. That means just like the lips, you don't really have that much light. So glabella can be a little bit darker. But yeah, this is the nose shading. So you can do a lot of darker details, such as the wing of the nose, the nostril, the bottom plane. You can do those kind of details around the bottom of that nose, but just be careful not to do the strong bridge of the nose to create the shape of the nose. But what you want to do is to get the form of that side plane and then do the mild shading. So that's the detail of the nose. And maybe depends on the model, depends on the picture you're looking at, you would also see some kind of foam shadow right underneath this tip of the nose. So light source, maybe you would see the foam shadow that looks like this. So this is really depends on what the light source comes from. Maybe you would see the foam shadow of the nose, maybe you don't. Maybe you would even see the foam shadow on the side plane that makes the big triangle shape. That really depends. So make sure that you do the construction of the nose first, top plane, side plane, bottom planes, and then work on these details. Okay, so the next part is the lips. The one thing that I want you to be careful with doing the lips is not to do the outlines, just like I was telling you for the nose. You don't want to do the firm outline for the bridge of the nose. And when you do the lips, you don't want to create this, basically the duck lip. You don't want to trace the outline of the lip unless the person is wearing the huge lipsticks with the big outline lipsticks, then maybe you can do the outline. But otherwise, when you're doing the natural lips without any makeup, then you don't want to create any outlines like this. So what you want to focus on is the middle line of the lips, and also some volume that's happening on the top and the bottom, right in the middle of the lips. Otherwise, it's basically the same thing, just like how we did last week, the upper lip being always slightly darker, the lower lip is lighter, and you have the cast shadow on the bottom. So I'm gonna start off with this 3 spheres. 1, 2, 3. So you're just going to start off with a sphere just like we always do for any type of figure drawing, and that means that we have this one round volume on upper lip and we have 2 volumes on the bottom right here and the other side. So this is the first step, and then after this you are going to create the middle line of the lip. So you can just follow this lines in between those spheres. I'm gonna make this come down over here. Make sure the left and right is the same length. So now I have this middle line. I know this doesn't look nothing like the lips yet, but basically what I'm doing is to create a volume here and creating the middle line in between this upper lip and lower lip. And for the upper lip, we have this thing called the philtrum. The philtrum is a little crease right in the middle of the upper lip, right over here in between the bottom of the nose to the upper lip. We have this little crease happening in the middle, and that's just called the philtrum. And this philtrum creates this little crater that looks like this on the top of the lip, and this creates the actual shape of the outline of the lip. Then yeah, I'm not gonna do the full thing because I don't want to make the huge outline, but this is going to be the shape of the upper lip, and lower lip is right here. The lower lip, you can also do the bottom following this 2 spheres, and then this whole part is going to be basically the cast shadow, just like how we did last week. This is the volume that you see inside the lip, and you know, like when you look at like Angelina Jolie's lip, you have seen her pictures on the Google image, right? And maybe some of you guys noticed that she's got this like a big crease happening on her lower lip, right in the middle, big like line, vertical line happening, and that explains why we have 2 volumes on the bottom lip, because those 2 spheres kind of squishes, create this nice, you know, pressure towards the center, and that's why some people have this crease like Angelina Jolie. And then for the upper lip, when you do the detail of the portrait drawing, you can do another cross contour shading that goes up from this middle line that you have, and you can just continue this shading coming from the bottom to the top, and then you can make this upper lip a little bit darker. But for this assignment, you can just do the same thing. As long as you follow this volume, you can just make the upper lip a little bit darker. So light source, maybe this sphere would have another shading, but I'm just gonna do the whole thing dark first, and then I'm going to make this side of the lip slightly darker because of the foam shadow. And the bottom lip, yeah, you can leave this blank if you want, that's totally fine. But if you want to do a little more details, and then you can just do the foam shadow on those spheres. So right here, slightly lighter, and just make this shade little continue towards the corner, and don't do the outlines, just a mild shading is okay. And then I'm gonna make the cast shadow a little bit darker also. Yeah, so this is the basic shading of the lip. You don't have to do any these fiber wrinkles of the lips today, but as long as you follow this foam shadow based on this actual shape of these lips, then that's just gonna be fine.